So today's podcast, I have Mhairi Murray. Hi.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I am very good as well, thank you. Yes. I've got a creak in my neck actually, and you think I live with somebody who's a massage therapist, so you think I should never have a creak in my neck, but that's not the case. So I'm like, oh, this is sore, and he goes, rubs it for 2 seconds and then leaves. It's not fixed yet.
Ongoing condition that you will need to get fixed by him. You'll just need to make it fixed.
I need to start demanding it.
Correct.
So a place I always like to start with any guests is for you to introduce yourself to the world, who you are, what it is that you do in this crazy planet.
Okay, well, I am Mhairi Murray. I am an ex-banker. My career was in banking. I was there for 19 years and I was your typical career girl, high flyer, senior bank manager at the time on the succession plan for local director in Scotland. The bank had been my life. However, it was killing my soul. The stress of banking, high profile type job just eventually started to eat away at me. And I suppose if you want to label it stress, you know, I'm fine with that, but I feel it was even more than that. It was just absolutely everything about it. I had Lola when I was 38, and my husband and I had always agreed that we would try and both go back to work and get childcare, etc, etc. Childcare wasn't really working out, but if I was to say that was the reason, that would just be an excuse. That was not the reason that I walked out. The job was killing my soul. So the support that I got when I went back after maternity leave was pretty, you know, grim, to be honest. And I just walked. I walked out, and after 19 years, I was in the East End of Glasgow. I was managing Duke Street, Ridgeray and Forge branches in Bank of Scotland, and I was the talk of the place. Everybody was talking about it. Nobody does that. Nobody walks out. You know, they've like stolen £1 million for the bank. Done. But I'm like, listen, there is more to life than the bank. There is more to life than being totally institutionalised by an organisation, which I absolutely was for a long time. And it was a massive part of my life. You know, I'm very grateful for the learnings and the experience and the people that I met at the bank. It was brilliant, you know, it was amazing, but it just wasn't for me after a certain point in time in my life, so I walked out. So my husband, I mean, it wasn't actually easy to do that. You know, financially, my husband and I had to reevaluate everything. We had to, you know, work out how we would even pay the mortgage. Any savings that we had went into the mortgage just so that we could stay here and live affordably. It was tight for the first couple of years. I took a year out after that, just really probably to just get myself together. It's probably the easiest way to describe it. When I look back, I think I did probably have postnatal depression as well on top of that, and then going back to work. I was never diagnosed with it, but I do think that I did. In fact, I actually think that most women probably experience it to some degree. I think maybe some people get it worse than others. I don't know, again, just my opinion. I do think that I had it. I took a year out, and then my husband's business grew a wee bit, and I am a director for with him and his business. So he does the practical stuff and I do all the office-based work. But I can do that anytime. I can do that in my own time. I can do it at night time when Lola's in bed. I can do it when she's at school. And as time went on, I thought to myself, I feel like I've got more to offer than just doing this part of the business. So I just used my skills and branched out a wee bit and did a wee bit of coaching, business and mindset coaching, just all the stuff that I had picked up myself from experience over the years at the bank, and applied that to doing a bit of self-employed work. And I still do that. I just don't advertise it because people that know me know what my background is anyway. So if they want my help, that's fine. And then it's just kind of, I've met and networked with loads of people from there and got involved in lots of different types of stuff. So I still work for, you know, the business that my husband and I have, but also anything that kind of comes my way like this, you know, I make a decision or a judgment on it, and I either do it or I don't. And something that has kind of taken off a wee bit, I'm not a big blogger by any stretch of the imagination, but I've got a small following on Instagram. It has brought me a couple of opportunities. So I have been, I don't know if you've seen the work that I've been doing with Laura Porter. I had the Femi wand done, which is the vaginal type.
Yes.
So that was all through Instagram. In fact, I'm going to see Laura again tomorrow, so I'll be talking more about the treatments and stuff that Laura offers. So things have come to me because of that. And I used to always think about, you know, having goals. And when I was a career girl, that was what drove me, was having goals. But I kind of took a step back for that, Jen, because I realised that having goals makes you feel like you're always aiming for something and you're never happy till you've achieved that, right? And suddenly I thought to myself, I don't want to be this person anymore. It's not that I don't want goals, because my goal now is to live every day in the moment. If something comes my way, I either seize it or I don't, right? So now I've changed my mindset with that, because I feel to live with goals all the time is always striving for something that's better than you believe that you are right now, and therefore has this negative impact on your mindset. Again, that's just my opinion, but through my that's how I feel. That's how it makes me feel. But see, since I've let go, and this has happened just during COVID, since I have let go of goals, honestly, I feel a huge weight off my shoulders. I feel totally relieved about it. And I feel like opportunities are kind of coming now. The more that I'm like, I'm not bothered, whatever, you know, things are starting, which is just a bit unbelievable. So the Instagram has taken a stronger path than it had before. But I think for me, Instagram was always about being as real as I could be. Like, I've got this real passion about whatever I put out on Instagram has to be exactly how I'm feeling or what's going on or whatever, because these like mummy accounts especially that post peachy coloured pictures, I call them the peaches. You know, every photo on their grid has got that peach filter on it, which again, each to their own, but that doesn't make me feel good. I look at these accounts and go, right, my Wayne's fucking driving me banana. And I'm looking at your grid and that's not happening in your life. You know, it's normal to respond like that. It's normal for the human brain to do that. So rather than waste my energy reasoning with, well, no, that's just what you're putting out, I just don't follow these accounts. I'm just like, no, just you do your thing, I'll do mine. But it makes me really passionate because I think mental health issues, I mean, we've got COVID thrown into this now as well, which makes it worse, but a lot of mental health issues are based on what your brain is being exposed to, which half the time is bullshit, utter bullshit. For me, I feel really passionate, and for women as well, of my age, you know, I'm 46, nearly 47, I think it's really important that there are people out there that are telling it how it is and talk about how they feel and what's really going on and stuff like that. So that's always been my passion. So that when, like, take Laura, for example, when Laura Porter and I first chatted, I knew I had nothing to explain. I knew that what Laura sees is exactly who I am. I don't need to say, oh, well, but, you know, it's what you see is what you get. So it's fine to to do any sort of work that might come my way. So I just feel really passionate about that, especially for mental health, that it's much better to convey the real issues of life and who you are than some, you know, pretty grid picture. That's what
Absolutely.
I think.
When I look at the pretty grid pictures, I always just think, how have you got the time and the brain space to do that? I'm lucky if I remember to post stuff, and I'm like, oh, here's some pictures of my pancakes that I'm making this morning, here's some pictures of this. But then people look at me, they'll say to me, God, you're so organised in life. And I'm like, clearly I'm not showing this story correctly, because organised is not something I do.
No, and the thing is, you're absolutely right, that you can only do your best. You can only put out what you believe is you. You're not putting any perception on it that you believe you are. But
Yeah.
you'll always get people, like I get all the time people saying to me, you are so confident. I wish I had the balls that you had to say X, Y, and Z. Now, I don't, but ironically, I don't see myself as a confident person. I suffered really badly from childhood anxiety.
Yeah.
And in my mind, like, childhood anxiety is a bit like having like an addiction problem. That's the only way I can describe it. As in, what I mean by that is it's always there. You never completely rid yourself of it. It's always there. So what you learn to do, if you want to, is manage it. Now, I've never any drugs or anything like that. Again, I'm all for drugs. You know, if a pill saves somebody's life, I'm 100% for it. So it's not that I'm against taking tablets. It's just that my choice was not to do that. I have been offered them, but I choose to do it a different way. I do like CBT and stuff like that. But anyway, you know, it's always there. That anxiety is always there, and it is just managing it. So to me, if I'm putting myself out there, it's because I've managed it to a level that I feel comfortable that I can do that. And my life is constantly like that. So, like you say, people say things like, oh, you're so confident. And I'm like, well, no, actually, no, I'm not. You know, that's what...
You've done the work to get there.
And it's ongoing. It's always there.
You also can't control what somebody else's perception of you is. Like, two people can look at a picture or watch a video and take completely different things away from it, or see it through completely opposing views, depending on what their personal history is, what the narrative is they run in their head. So somebody might look at that and be like, man, she's a pure boot. And then somebody else is like that, oh my God, she's amazing. You know?
And you do get them. I mean, you get the ones that think you're pure. And they're the ones that you go, all right, fine, move on, let's move on. Well, you know, you don't follow me, I'll not follow you. It's fine. That's totally well. As I said, only, and they say this to Lola in school, they tell the kids this, you can only do your best. If you know you're doing your best, there's nothing else that you can do. You can't control what people think. You know, you can't make everybody like you, and you have to accept that. So, but I just do my best to be as honest as I can be, and I think that's it. That's all you can do. So that just kind of explains the Instagram thing, and it is a part of my life now. But I don't go about calling myself a blogger. I'm a pure stickler.
Are you not an influencer then?
I'm an influencer. I hate that word. My God, it's like so subjective. I think, how can you call somebody an influencer? They're only an influencer if the person is being that's watching it is being influenced by what they're saying. But no, everybody is influenced by that. You know, I just think it's very subjective. But I'm a real stickler for labels. I just hate labels. It's like, you know, call me an influencer, and that's it. That's what I am. I can't be anything else. And I just think, no, I'm a money more. Just call me money more. That's what I am. I'm not one of these people that comes on giving it, oh, Maureen, look at her, she's so beautiful. It's so bad. I know that sounds so bad, but I'm just not that type of person. But and then people say to me, if I get messages after a picture of Lola that I've posted in stories, message me saying, oh, she's so beautiful. I just think, is she? Is she, right? Because she's a pure wee bastard, actually. That's through my mind. I think my Wayne's beautiful. Obviously, every mom thinks their Wayne's beautiful. It's just not the forefront of your mind when she's being sarcasm. So I try to be as honest as I can be. So right now, I'm continuing to do what I'm doing on a daily basis. I usually put something out, content, on my I call it content, but it's really just my life. It's nothing spectacular. And I just keep going. I just think every day I just go, I just put out what I'm putting out. I do what I'm doing with my job, and that's it. I just live life in the moment. What I would say is that I'm very lucky that I can do that. I know that I'm privileged in the situation that I'm in. So I don't want people out there thinking, oh, look at her, it's all right for her, she can do that. Yeah, I'm fully aware that I'm very privileged in the lifestyle that I'm allowed to lead. But the other thing that I will say is, with my husband being self-employed, under the current circumstances, that could all change in a heartbeat, and I'm very aware of that as well. So currently everything's hunky-dory until I will deal with it.
Yeah. Do you think that your aversions, maybe I don't know if that's the right word, to not having labels comes from having been so identified with your career in the past, that now that you've realised that having that identity previously isn't useful presently?
Maybe. I think it's deeper than that, but I'll come back to that. I'll answer that question first because I've got a wee story about that. When I was a bank manager in Edinburgh West, which is Carstorphine. I managed the branches in Carstorphine, which is a very the only way to describe it is a well-to-do area. Now, my background is I'm a council wean. I lived in a scheme. My mum's house was rented. We played in the streets. Nobody gave a fuck about your safety because you were safe on the streets. You know, it was just that's the kind of upbringing that I had. So, you know, that's who I am. But I was managing the branches in Carstorphine, like I say, very well-to-do area. You know, Chris Hoy was one of our customers before he moved to Manchester. But this gentleman came in one day and said to one of my colleagues, they had a problem. I can't even remember what it was, but he said, I demand to speak to the manager. I want to speak to the manager. Now, that happened quite regular. That was nothing, no big deal. But as I approached him, you know, and you're holding your hand out to greet him and introducing yourself, I'm Mary, I'm the manager, he went, oh, I asked for the manager. I didn't realise it was a manageress. Right, okay, well, we'll just put aside your draconian ideas for the minute and you can tell me what your problem is. And that's just a perfect example of how a label can conjure up the wrong idea in somebody's mind. That's my issue with labels. It's just like everyone's got a different image of what that label is. But then I suppose you could say that about every opinion in everybody's mind, you know, that is the case. So, yeah, whilst when I was in my job, I was totally driven by labels as well, Jen, actually, and that's a fair point. You know, I wanted to be the senior banking advisor, the senior manager, the local director. I wanted all those titles and labels because that, and I'm not embarrassed to admit it because it was how I felt at the time, that in my mind defined success. That was like, if I get that, I'm fucking pure banging. I've reached the dream. Until I realised that wasn't what gave you happiness. So no, I don't think that is the reason though that I've got an issue with labels. It probably just adds to it. I think the reason I've got issues with labels is because I was brought up in your typical central Scotland wee village, mining village, and you know, a spade was a spade and nobody was above their station because they weren't allowed to be above their station, and therefore nobody got a label because you were, you know, it was just, you only got a label if you were a snob or you were rich. And my gran would constantly, you know, have something to say about somebody that had money. That's what they would say, you know, that's the phrase that my it's like, she's got money, she thinks she's better than everybody else. You know, it was a bad thing, and it's a typical, I think, Scottish deep-rooted cultural thing that you're kind of brainwashed, and that's not really the best phrase to use for it, but you're conditioned to think that you're not allowed to think highly of yourself or, you know, brag, if you like. Bragging was a bad.
Yeah.
And I think that my sort of aversion to labels comes from that, you know. And somebody said to me, and I know that I need to work on it because it's no right, because some people want a label. And that's different. I totally respect that. If you want the label of, like, I follow accounts that use labels like queer and, you know, they you know, they instead of her or he, she, all of that. And I'm totally, I think that's great. That's, you know, their liberty allows them to do that. And I totally agree with that. You live your life the way that you want to. So for me, I need to get my head around this labels thing, because you can't be against somebody who chooses to have that label, because that's their choice and you need to respect it. So there is that side of it as well. You know, I need to learn to accept labels a bit more, because some people want to have that label and that's their freedom of choice, you know, have it. So, but I do think it comes with that typical mining village, central Scotland scheme upbringing. I think that's where it comes.
So how did you break out of that then? How did you basically put two fingers up to it and go, I'm going to do something different?
Right. Well, the first that happened was when I was 14, my mum remarried my stepdad. She'd been with him since I was 6 anyway, my mum and dad. You were at TED, weren't you? So
Yes, seen your TED Talk, yep.
Story previous to that. So my mum met my stepdad when I was 6, and he was from Livingston originally. And my mum moved us eventually when I was 14, which was a brutal time to move school. I was in like third, you know, at that pubescent stage, and you know, really it was grim. I refused to go at first, actually. I said I was staying with my gran. I wasn't going to go, but anyway, even my gran talked me into going. So we moved to Livingston, and I'd say that was the big factor in changing everything for me, because we were just outside Edinburgh then. It was like, you know, the cosmopolitan life, and it really was. Like Hart Hill was from, and the difference between Hart Hill and Livingston was night and day. Just amazing to live that kind of way, and it wasn't like the villagey outlook, and you know, people didn't behave the way that people behave in a village where everybody knows everybody in your business. You're just not allowed to be anything. And it just went from there. When I left school, went to college, I got a job in the bank, and I just worked my way up through the bank. But I think because of my childhood, like I'm a survivor, if you like, of adverse childhood experience. I think because my mum had to struggle and survive as a result, I think that put the fight in me. I then became a fighter. So it was like when I started off in the bank, and I could see the bank was very much for progressing people. If you worked hard, you were rewarded. It was as simple as that. So I see that, and I was like, all right, so if I fight for this, when I say fight, all I mean is work hard, although it is a man's world, so there is a certain element of, you know, you are fighting against certain draconian ideas, but I thought, if I fight for this, I'm going to get to where I want to be. And the other thing is belief. I did believe that I was worthy of it, even although I have these anxiety issues, which always questions your, you know, belief, if you like. Deep down, I did believe that if anybody was good enough, then so was I. Do you know what I mean? So I just always kept fighting to get to the next level. But again, I realised that, you know, that I, you know, constantly trying to achieve dreams didn't really bring you happiness. So one big huge circle of life that brought me to where I am now. But yeah, I do think that gave me the fight, though. The experiences in childhood gave me the fight to become better than what I thought I, you know, should be.
Yeah, so for anybody that's like, what was our childhood, I'll put the link to your TEDx talk in the show notes for it, so that people can easily find it and then go and catch up with that wee part of your story.
Yeah, no, that's fine. My TEDx isn't actually currently in my Instagram bio because I'm working with Kat and the You're All Right team to raise £10,000 for Chrissy's house. So it's actually the chat that's in my bio. But once we do that, I'll go back to having my link tree and it will be there. But yeah, you can Google it. Just Google Mhairi Murray TED Talk and it's there. But yeah, what was I saying there? So that's kind of, I think, where that came from, the whole childhood experience thing.
Yeah, and then where did your new, I'm going to call it a new mindset, it's probably the mindset's always been there, but this desire to be more present in the moment, did you have like any specific, a book that you read or a teacher or a mentor or somebody that showed you that there was this more present way to be?
Well, kind of. I think I'm very much into self-development, and well, obviously I am. The bank were big on it as well, you know, and spending 19 years in the bank, they taught me loads of invaluable stuff. But I've always been into personal development and self-development, and you can't see here, but on this side of the office, this is our home office, my bookshelf is here with all my books in it, like that. A treasure. Like I read books and I maybe don't think they're that great, and I usually just pass them on. You have this book because, you know, maybe do something for you. It didn't really help me, but the ones that I really treasure, I keep because I like to go back to them. Funny because my coach, and I'll tell you about him in a minute, he would say that, you know, stick to 2 or 3 books. You don't need to read the entire library of self-development books that's out there. If you find 2 or 3 books that really resonate with you, keep going back to them, keep rereading them or highlighting really impact you and go back to it, because if that's what you need, that's what you need. You found it. So I do a lot in my own personal development, and it's always ongoing. And I'm reading the book just now. It's not actually, I don't think it's sitting here. It must be upstairs by my bed. It's the girl that wrote, is it How Not to Give a Fuck or something? But this one is
the Sarah Knight.
Yes, Sarah Knight.
Yeah. So I read that book and I was just like, that's not for me.
So I'm
reading
one
of those books. Yeah.
Funny you should say that. I'm reading the second one, and somebody messaged me. I keep saying that I'm reading it. I can't even remember what it's called. It's maybe How Not to Give a Fuck or something. I don't know. Anyway, it's the second one, and what keeps me reading it is that she's a good writer, not the information that she's given. It's actually, I like the type of person she is. I like that she knows how to write a book and that she's actually in herself quite funny and witty. So that's why I've continued reading it. But it's funny you should say that, because somebody messaged me last week, it was on my stories, saying, would you recommend this book? And I was like, do you know, there's nothing in it that I've gone, oh, that's a bulb moment or whatever. There's nothing in it that does that for me. But why I keep reading it is I actually quite like the lassie, and she talks about her mental health as well, which I really like. So that was why I kept reading it, Jen. But I totally agree. There's nothing in that book. Like, that's a book I won't keep in my bookshelf. That I'll pass that on. So I'll give that to somebody. But I mean, I've read my favourite books. I'm going to get one out and show you it now. Actually, there's 2. I'll give you my favourite book. Wait till I find it. The very first self-development book that I read was, and people already, this How to Win Friends and Influence People, that Dale Carnegie. I read that right at the start of my banking career. So that, you know, you were asking where did the fight come from. The inbuilt natural attitude that I had from my childhood combined with stuff like this, I would say probably is the mixture that goes into my life. I didn't read The Secret, right, but I've got The Magic, and again, that's no rocket science, I don't think, but that's a good book just as a wee reminder, I think, just to remind you who the fuck you are. That's the best way to put it. That book makes me feel like that. I'd be like, right, I'll just read whatever page. And a good thing to do if you're needing an instant lift and you're feeling a bit crap, open the book at any page and just read it. Just read that page. You know, these wee things and tips and whatever stuff that I've learned away. And obviously I mentioned before about CBT. as well. And I keep this book, the CBT handbook, in my shelf as well, and I use tap. I'm a massive fan of tapping because I've
Brilliant.
done research as to how it works and how the vibrations throughout your body calm you down, and for me it works. I know this kind of stuff doesn't work for everybody, I totally appreciate that, but for me that's what works. So I do like reading self-development books, and if somebody recommends one to me, the chances are I will get it and have a read it, but I find very few of them actually do something for me. Like, so that's 3 that do, and you know, he isn't really a self development book, although maybe it is. I don't know what CBT is classed as, but these are the things that work for me. But also, I don't know if you've heard of Jack Black, not the actor, Jack Mindstore.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
so Jack is actually my coach, but the way that, and I've known Jack for 25 years anyway, at least. And again, I was introduced to him through the bank because he was one of our speakers at one of our conferences. And I was just a wee, what I would say, a wee lassie, you know, early, a bit daft, just starting out. And it totally resonated with me. So to cut a long story short, I hooked back up with Jack just maybe 2 or 3 years ago because I felt like I was in a bit of a rut within my life. And I still class Jack as, if I was needing coaching, that's where I'd go. I'd go back to Jack. So I've had a one-to-one session with Jack, and Jack's view is that you should only ever need that one with him. And then what you can do is continually follow him on social media and on his platforms, and, you know, comment, blah, 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 whatever, interact with him. And I kind of believe that with Jack, for myself anyway, personally. It's like, I've had that session with him, it wasn't cheap, I got it as a gift, and I just keep it going by continually just tapping in and tapping out of his content that he puts on social media. The good thing about Jack is, once you're one of his people, for want of a better phrase, you've got that access to him. You can message him, he'll message you back, you know.
Yeah.
Nobody ever seems to abuse it because he's, you know, Jack's a multi-millionaire. He's somebody that doesn't need to work, so nobody abuses it, as far as I know. He says that himself. So he's the guy that kind of, I suppose, kept me on track a few years ago when I felt like I was just losing the plot, basically, which still happens, but now I have the tools that I can go to when I feel like that. And it's not that I don't feel like that, I do feel like that, and COVID's been horrific for that. So yeah, that's kind of a huge, big, long-winded answer as to mindset stuff.
I think it's interesting what you're saying about the books, because there are so many self-help, personal development books out there, and if you read all of them, eventually, very quickly, you'll get to a point where they're all saying the same thing, but just with different stories surrounding it. So you want to find somebody who you connect with, their personality, or you like their style of writing, or you find funny, or whatever. But brilliant, go read the book, but you actually need to go and take action on it. You need to, because I remember I wrote a book a couple of years ago, and one of the comments on Amazon, one of the feedbacks was, there's nothing new in here. And I was so tempted to write back to her, and I didn't. But I was like, there's nothing new in any of the books. If you're just reading every single book, yes, you're going to be disappointed because there's nothing new in any of them.
I totally agree with you, and it's funny you should say that, because Jack Black says that as well. He will always say that there is nothing new about what he teaches. He didn't invent it, he just teaches it. Jack's very big on meditation. He introduced me to meditation, actually, and I also swear by that. If you can sit with yourself for even minutes, you know, I'm not one of these people that preaches it, or preaches that you should sit with your legs crossed and facing south and, you know, in the Buddha. You know, that's no, it took me a while to understand what meditation is, and actually it means something different to every person. But as soon as I engaged with that, that made a big difference to me as well, the meditating. So I do that every day, even if it's just for a few minutes, because it makes such a difference and it helps your physical health as well. So I totally agree with you. None of it. And see, if you're reading every book, I would kind of say there's another question that needs answered there. You know, you're looking for something
Yeah.
out with you, because it is in here. You know, that's the where you need to start the change from. Again, speaking from experience, I know that every issue that goes on is me. And if I'm annoyed at something, and even I'm having a rant about having to take Lola for a COVID test, I know that's all down to how I'm responding to it and the media, how they're reporting it. I know the problem's me and not actually them, because it's how I'm responding to it. I know all of that. But I also know that to have passion and show your passion is a good mentality to have as well, because it gets that energy out and, it makes you feel better as soon as you do it. So, I'm very mindful not to be critical of any way that anybody reacts to anything, because it's all good and healthy. It's worse if you bottle it up and then end up with other kinds of issues, which we're all trying to avoid, all of us, in the current, global situation.
Yeah, totally. I was talking to somebody, I think it was Chris's sister. We were having a conversation. We were talking about stuff that was going on in the world, and I was just laughing about it. And she's like, "That, thank God somebody else is laughing about this." Because everybody I speak to is on the verge of having a mental breakdown about it. And I'm like, if you don't laugh about it, that's the alternative. Like, you work yourself up so much, so you just have to at one point go, do you know what? There's loads of this that's not in my control. I need to control me, because that's the only thing I have control of, and work out how we pan out the rest somehow.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, first, as I said, Keith's self-employed, which means I'm self-employed. We were getting, or we are getting, very little support from the government. So if we hadn't had any money sitting in the bank, and I don't even want to use the word savings, because it wasn't really, it's just a wee bit of a comfort blanket, we would have been fucked, to be honest. That's the honest truth. So first 3, and still that could happen. For the first 3 weeks, I was extremely stressed, off the scale. I felt extremely anxious about it, no sleeping, no eating, whatever. And until I had that light bulb moment of, unless I simmer the fuck down, I'm going to be like that for months, because we can't control it. So I had that, and that's just the situation I believe I'm in now. Same as what you're saying, there is nothing, absolutely zero, that I can do to control where this is going. And what is for me is going to happen anyway. If I'm to sell my house and move into something different, smaller, weird, whatever, then that'll just need to happen. That's it. It's not actually the end of the world. So, but it is, I know that it's a worry, but I do just try to accept that what's going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah, we just need to be able to find a way to ride the wave.
Aye, surf the waves, I say, which as a mom, you're doing on the daily anyway.
I think I'm not a mum, but I think everybody is. Whatever your wave is, it's your wave. It's completely unique to you, and you need to work out the best way for you personally to deal with it. And if that's having a meltdown, go have your meltdown. If it's laughing about it, laugh about it. If it's crying about it, cry about it. But don't beat yourself up about it, and notice how you're reacting and responding to things, and check in with yourself. Is that the way that I want to present myself in the world? Is that how I want to deal with this? And that's when you can start to look at making change, if you're doing something a way that you don't want to do it.
Yeah, no, I know, that's my postman just coming. I totally agree with you. I'm all for people doing exactly what's right for them and what makes them feel better. And, just to say about social media, again, if somebody isn't making you feel good, and I say this even about myself, because I'm not everybody's cup of tea, we've established that, just follow them, I do it, just unfollow. And it's nothing really personal, you know, it's just like, no, you're no for me, I'm done with this and whatever. But also limiting your scrolling is a big thing, I think, as well. You know, if you're spending loads of time just on your phone and you're scrolling, it's, you know, I don't think people really appreciate how that impacts your brain. You know, you might look at something and think to yourself, oh, I'm no bothered about that, and scroll past. But actually, subconsciously, you don't know what the fuck is going on in there. This thing, mental. It's just, it works in weird ways. Just don't expose your mind to it at all. That was a book I read, actually. I talk about that in my TED talk, the what is it called, where the brain waves, neuroplasticity.
Yes.
At my TED talk, because that's another big thing. CBT is a form of that neuroplasticity, but I'm a huge fan of that, and that explains how the neurons in your brain connect to give you the thoughts, feelings and actions that all are produced by you as a human. And it makes you realise that whatever you expose your mind to, whether you consciously think to yourself, I'm not bothered about that or not, does not determine what your subconscious thinks or feels about it. Like, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
That was a big turning point for me, actually, understanding how the brain is wired, you know, and understanding that I wasn't this label of the council weighing with very little prospects or whatever, blah, blah, blah. When you read about how the brain actually works, and all our brains are exactly the same, you kind of develop an understanding of why nobody or you know, any walk of life is better than you, because they're not, you know, we are all the same. But yeah, I should have said that when you asked me about books. It's just because that CBT now is neuroplasticity, and that's what I think of with that. But yeah, the brain is just unbelievable. When I say the brain, I'm talking about the mind, but they don't even know where the mind sits within the brain, but they know it's in there, hopefully. But you know, that's, to read about that sort of stuff is just incredible. But yeah, you're right, you have to do what's right for you. I'm all for that as well, you know, respect who you, doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. And that comparing yourself thing is a huge thing, and I know we all say don't compare yourself, don't do it, and that's absolutely right, but it's natural to do that. So then just limit what you're exposing your mind to, so that you're doing it as, you know, least as possible, or as you know, as a minimum reaction as possible. That whole get rid of it, just get rid of it if it's affecting you. And I've heard somebody saying, yeah, but then you're just curating your feed to be your opinion, you're not hearing the opinions of others. And I'm like, fucking fine by me, that's fine. I'm like, I'm not bothered. If you've not got my opinion, see you later. So that's
but then social media manipulate the algorithm anyway, so that it doesn't matter who you follow. If you like certain things or say certain things, their algorithm then connects you with more people and more opinions and more things that either are in your spectrum or so polar opposite that are going to get a reaction. So if you think that you're curating what it is that you think by your social media, what you'll choose to like, social media are going to do that for you anyway. Do you know what I mean? If you just look at something, you're like, oh, that's interesting, they've got a different opinion from me. But if you don't like it, comment or anything, where you have more tendency to do on stuff that you really like or stuff that makes you infuriated, then you're not getting a nice balance anyway. So
I know, I'm not sitting here saying anybody that's a different opinion to me gets packed. But if it's really extreme, and it hardly ever happens, to be honest, but if it is and it's just like off the scale against what I think, then I would unfollow. But I totally respect people's opinions. I do. That's fine. But one thing I did during COVID was I took Facebook off my phone. I didn't come off Facebook, I didn't delete my profile or anything like that, but because I always talk about having an OCD type personality. I have got that type of personality. I've not been diagnosed with OCD, you know, because I do want to respect people that have been diagnosed, because I've got a girl that I follow and we chat, and, you know, I don't have clinical OCD, but what I will say is I do recognise traits of my personality that are a bit basically obsessive. So if when I've got an app on my phone, if there's a notification there, Jen, I'm the type of person, I need to clear that out. I need to clear that out. I can't have outstanding notifications. It's just what I'm like. Everything needs to be organised and needs cleared out. So when I had Facebook on my phone, I mean, Jesus, fuck, man, you're getting notifications for people eating a fried egg for their breakfast. It is just ridiculous. So I was constantly on my phone, you know, because I was being drawn to it. Again, my problem, not blaming anybody else, totally my problem. I recognise that as my problem though, so that was why I then took Facebook off my phone. But see, when I took Facebook off my phone, I actually started to forget that I had Facebook. I was forgetting that I had Facebook, so I wasn't going on it at all. And then all of a sudden, a week had passed and I was like, oh my God, I've not been on Facebook. I feel pure amazing for not being. I actually feel like, oh my God, so liberated that I've done this. So that was like an epiphany. Honestly, I deleted it from my phone. It kept me away from it. I need to go to my iPad now, but that's a bigger deal. I don't walk about with my iPad in my pocket or in my bag. Yeah. I need to be in the house and going, all right, I need to go to the iPad to look at Facebook, which now I'll do maybe once every couple of days. I do still go on it. I'm hardly on it for any length of time because Facebook isn't showing me anything. I think it must be because I'm not on it or liking anything when I go on it. Like I'm just seeing the same stuff all the time. But that was a huge thing for me, taking Facebook away from my sort of everyday life. And I still have Instagram. I love my Instagram. So yeah, it's makes a huge difference to your well-being, limiting stuff that's maybe not making you feel great, whatever. So that was something that I did to you know, just eliminate it from my life, being constantly, you know, attracted to it because of these. I mean, normal people don't see a notification and go, all right, I'll get that later, you know.
I think you'll find that most people are, oh, there's a notification and you get it. Or there's, like, I keep my phone on silent, can't for some reason switch vibration off on it. So as soon as I hear my phone vibrate, I'm like, what is it? What is it? It's like, it's Pavlov's dog, man, it's changing.
Totally, I totally agree with you. See, when I'm sitting here, by the way, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm sitting here talking to you and I don't know how many messages have flashed up on my phone after my rant about the COVID test. Jesus, I don't want...
Maybe Nicola Sturgeon's contacted you because you did put a call out, you wanted to speak to her.
Oh God, could you imagine that? I've got Nicola Sturgeon on the phone for you. You want to speak to her?
Yes.
You need to work something. We need to buy COVID tests with Calpol, all right? Oh, jeez, man. I'll be on the news tonight, Jen. I can't be because I've got to go and see somebody about getting a new bathroom at 6 o'clock, so I can't be. But, oh man, that's just by the by. Yeah, what will we say? Totally lost it.
It's a really good tip for anybody who does find themselves constantly looking at their phone or being drawn to that notification. Delete the app off your phone so that it's a more conscious decision to go to your laptop or your things. That's what I had to do. I deleted the app. I stopped notifications first of all, then I deleted the app. I've now deleted my Facebook account.
Oh, have you? Totally.
And every level was, I feel so much better. Oh my God, I feel free.
I know. And that's the thing, you realise nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares. If you're on Facebook or even Instagram or whatever, nobody cares. It's up to you what you do. You know, I think you need to kind of have that thought to yourself as well. It was like, you know, I've been off Facebook now on my phone so I'm not like liking MD's posts or anything because I'm not seeing them. But 3 or 4 months, nobody's like messaged me going, hello, what's
right?
I mean, Dad, who's in Australia, my stepdad, messaged me like, that's to be accepted, that's to be, you know, expected, he's my dad. Yeah. But I mean, really, other than that, nobody gives a shit. I think you think as well, if you're no there and no liking or loving posts, that, you know, the Facebook police might come and get you and lock you up. They don't. And your life is free.
You have got more time to scroll through Instagram.
Facebook, go on to Instagram, that's where it's all at.
Oh, yeah, I've switched my notifications off for Instagram, and I'll go on it in the morning, but I tend not to scroll. I'll maybe scroll down 2 or 3 posts, and then it's like, oh, there's the first ad, another 2 posts, there's the second ad. Oh, I can't be bothered with that. I'll look at stories. And I'll set stories on and I'll watch it while I'm pottering about doing other things like people do the news or the telly or whatever. Just at mine, for me, it's Instagram stories. I'm nosy into other folks' lives.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've limited my Instagram, but and I do get messages on Instagram, but it's a different type of connection than Instagram. Yeah. I feel totally different. I would say the majority of my followers are female. I've got a huge like connection with people that are similar to me, women, middle-aged. Hate that label, right? But I like to just admit what I am.
I realised yesterday that I was middle-aged. I still think my mum and dad has been middle-aged, and I'm like, no, hang on a wee minute. I'm 40, that makes me middle-aged. Is that all right?
I know, I do not like, but it gets used, so I'm like, fine, I'm happy to admit it. But you know, those people, they're the kind of people that message me. So, and it's because they're relating to stuff, and because I'm passionate about just telling it how it is, what you see is what you, all of that type of thing. These are people that I want to be having conversations with, you know, and giving my opinion, and they say theirs and whatever. And it's just more about connections, I feel. On Instagram, I'm all about connecting, you know, with your tribe and all of that type of stuff, to coin a phrase. But it's far more enjoyable to be messaging people that you're connecting with than Facebook. I find it fully bams, to be honest. You know, you get people, you're like, just a bam. You know, no offence to anybody that's on Facebook. I am still on it, but I just feel like that on it.
I think people remember more that you're a person when they're messaging you, because generally it's a private message or they're commenting on something. I think in Facebook, for some reason, it's easier to forget that when you're posting a comment, that you're posting a comment on a person's post. Because some people are really nasty with some of their comments, and you're like, do you know that you're speaking to a person there? The way that tone, like maybe somebody's asked a question because they felt like they don't understand something that's going on in the world, and people just snide comments back instead of saying, well, why don't you not look at this, or why don't you not look at that, and being pleasant about it. They just nasty.
Yeah. Facebook is more of a dog eat dog. Yeah, I totally agree with you. That you see loads of people, keyboard warriors. I don't like that at all. And one of the things that was really affecting me mentally on Facebook were people posting information about COVID that wasn't factual, because, you know, I was one of those people that read it to death. I shouldn't have done that, to stop myself from everything that I could find on, you know, the actual disease and all the rest of it. But people just posting stuff that wasn't factual according to the Scottish government. That's what I'll say, right? You know, because even they don't know what the facts are. Nicola Sturgeon's quite open about that. You know, she can only report what she knows. But even based on what they were saying, people were, you know, giving their own view on it and whatever. And again, I don't have an issue with people having their opinion, but I just had to step back for it. It wasn't healthy for me, you know. So again, that was another reason, you know, apart from keyboard warriors, it was that whole and people just scroll past it, and I'm like, but you've already read it by the time you're scrolling past it. You need to read it to go past it. So it's like, no, I'll just not read it, right? I'm done with it. Hopefully, you know, I'll maybe go back to Facebook. I don't know. But I love Instagram too much. People are always saying to me, oh, you need to get on TikTok because, me and Lola do loads of daft stuff, but I'm not being drawn to TikTok either, because I just feel there's much more originality to be had just on doing your own thing and putting it out there, rather than, you know, getting involved with TikTok. Plus, I just don't want to add any more social media to my
no more apps.
I'm already done in brain. I'm not adding any more yet.
I think Instagram just brought out recently their Reels thing, which is their answer to. I mean, I don't get it. I'm like, how is it different for stories? How is it different for people? I don't get it. So I just ignore it.
Totally. I keep them coming up, and I'm like, I just don't understand this, and it's annoying me that I don't get it. But now I've just thought, nah, I'm sticking to what I know. I like my Instagram. It works fine for me. I'm just sticking to my Instagram and stories. I'm not even getting involved in news. Wait till you see next week. I'll be, you know.
Look forward to that.
Oh, my pure mum.
Oh, amazing. Right, we've done about an hour. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, not at all, honestly, nothing. I've really enjoyed this chat. I'm glad that it just went the way that it did, and, you know, we just talked the stuff that we talked about. You know, I've got nothing to promote. I've got, you know, I'm just who I am. Thank you so much for having me. I want to say that it's a massive compliment. I'm so grateful that you gave me the
opportunity. Coming in, sharing your banter.
No, man, it wasn't that good. Be honest, John.
It was. I'll put your Instagram handle in the show notes as well, and this will be out on Monday. This Monday coming.
Right, and I will share it on my stories as well. Obviously, that I had a wee chat with you, and people can come and have a listen to more of my chat if they're not already. But yeah, I will share that. Thanks so much, my lovely.
No worries. Thanks very much for being on.
No problem.
All right. Thanks. Take care. Bye.
Bye.